Okay. Welcome to the Mid-Ohio Valley Public Forum video podcast. This podcast features issues of interest to the residents of the Mid-Ohio Valley, mainly encompassing Wood County, West Virginia, and Washington County, Ohio. Right now, with the coronavirus pandemic, civic life has changed quite a bit across the country.
This is an election year, and one of the things that has changed is that candidates are not able to campaign for office as they normally would. Usually, you'd find candidates for public office out at soup bean dinners and ice cream socials and shaking hands, kissing babies. None of that can happen right now.
So most of our initial podcasts will be interviews with candidates for local office. If you're a local candidate and you're interested in being interviewed and we haven't reached out yet, please get in contact with us at the MOV Public Forum on Facebook, or you can send us an email at movpublicforum@gmail.com.
Today we'll be interviewing Mark Meredith. Mark is running for mayor of Parkersburg. Welcome, Mark. We're delighted you can join us for this interview today.
All right, thanks for having me.
So with that, we'll dive right in. Do you have an elevator speech? If we were traveling together in an elevator and you had 1 minute to convince me to vote for you, what would you say?
I'd say I want to make positive change in Parkersburg. I think doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results is not really an answer to solving some of the problems. I think we need to have some unique solutions to the problems that we have right now, and I think I can offer that.
Okay. What is motivating you to run for office? What's the main thing that made you decide to step up and run for mayor?
Well, I tell everybody, I live here too. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to run if I didn't live in the city of Parkersburg, but I live here too. I see the same things that affects everybody else. And so if I'm not willing to step up and try to do something about it, then I really don't feel like I have the right to complain about it. And I know we've had a lot of issues with homelessness, with drug addiction. There's a lot of blight within the city. There's people leaving, there's factories, businesses leaving. So I want to try to reverse that trend, and make it better for everybody, because like I said, I live here too. The effects are felt by everybody. So changing those things, I think, will make it better for everybody.
What do you think that you have to offer the residents of Parkersburg that your competition in the race might not?
Creativity. Like I said, doing the same thing over and over again yields the same result every time. So I want to take a more creative approach to solving some of these problems. One of the ideas I had is a community investment trust, a complete revamp of the tourism industry. We're a river town. That's how Parkersburg grew. We were along a railroad track and a river. So I think we need to embrace that and try to increase tourism, increase tourism dollars, bring people here. And it also makes it, again, better for the people that live here. So just different creative solutions to those problems, I think would be something that I can offer that maybe some of my competitors can't.
What would you say is your wow factor? What is the thing that would make someone who knew this about you, say, wow, I'm going to vote for that guy?
Well, I like the idea of the community investment trust. It's something I've talked about several times. It's something that would allow the citizens to be engaged. So it wouldn't be a tax. It would be something that's voluntary. They would invest in it just like they would any other security or mutual fund. That money could be used for civic projects. It could be used for revitalization, and those people would get a return on that investment. And so it kind of eliminates the problem of gentrification. A lot of places that are getting revitalized, often what happens is there's people on this side of the block that maybe don't have a lot of income, and people on this side of the block who are seeing all kinds of revitalization. What ends up happening is the owners of these properties say, well, this is a hot area of town. We need to raise these people's rent. They're missing out. So, that's basically what gentrification is. And so it kind of pushes those people out. And I don't think that's the right approach. I think the people that are going to benefit the most from any kind of revitalization or any kind of improvements in the city are the residents themselves. Yes, it would be nice to bring things to Parkersburg that would attract people from outside of town, but we've also got to focus on the people inside of town. These are the people that live here. So I would want to try to create a community investment trust to make those things happen. I know the city's budget is usually only between 29 and let's say 37 million. Half of that easily goes to wages for police department, fire department, sanitation, public utilities, those types of things. It doesn't leave a whole lot of money left over for any kind of civic projects that could be done inside the town. So, we had the Point Park that was remodeled several years ago. That I think was done with federal money. We've had the splash pad in Parkersburg at the city park, but there hasn't been too many civic projects done in Parkersburg since 1926. And so there's not really a lot of new things or a lot of things to attract people from outside the area. And there's really not a lot of things inside for people inside the city. And I think that needs to change too. So I think the community investment trust I spoke about would be a good way to free up some money to do some things like that, especially with the city's budget as tight as it is.
So with that segue, we'll go to, if you're elected, what is your single top priority you want to accomplish during a term in office?
Just revitalization of downtown and some of the forgotten areas of Parkersburg. So there's places in Parkersburg that I know for a fact have buildings setting on them that have burnt 3 times. There was several fires here just recently, probably 4 or 5 within the last month, that, these are houses that have been burned and then burned again. And so that's a safety issue, to the public and to the first responders, for the people that have to go in there. If a firefighter goes into a burning building, he doesn't have a family member coming out and saying, yes, everybody's out of that building. He has to go in and make sure there's nobody in there. And so that's a real problem with a vacant, abandoned building, because you don't have a family member or a neighbor or someone that can say, hey, there's nobody in there. So it's a danger to our first responders. It's a danger to the public, and it detracts from the neighborhood. And the people that have to live around that also have to deal with the fact that there's people coming in and out of these homes, sometimes, for illegal drug activity. Sometimes maybe they're just homeless. Maybe they're looking for a place to stay and keep warm, get out of the weather. But again, that often leads to house fires, either through, illegal drug activity or maybe just trying to keep warm. So that's a tax on the city's resources. Now we've got firefighters going out, we've got police responding, and it's a property that's not really doing anything for the city or for the neighborhood. They're not getting any tax revenue from that. It's not providing a home for somebody. And so, something needs to be done about that. So I think my top concern would be to try to eliminate as much of that as we could, and to build up the city, to make it a little denser. Instead of building out, use what we've already got within the city.
What do you see as the 3 largest problems facing Parkersburg, and what is your plan to tackle those problems?
The 3 biggest problems, I think, are decline in population. I wouldn't be surprised if the 2020 census comes out and it says that we are under 30,000. So that's problem number 1. A lot of people are leaving. Problem number 2 is the job market here in Parkersburg, and the housing market, and the blight. I mean, those things together, it's not attracting people. It's not keeping people here, and it's not attracting new business. So those 3 things that I think are 3 things that I'd want to tackle immediately.
How do you feel about compromise?
Well, I think compromise is good. I mean, one person can't be right all the time. You need to look at multiple viewpoints. And I think it's best to get everybody's viewpoint, to find out what the other person's thinking, to see what their ideas are, because maybe they have a better idea. If you can all work together and compromise, come together with an idea, then I think that's the best way to a solution.
Do you play well with others? And do you have any examples of things you worked on where you played well with others?
Sure. So I worked as a designer for 16 years at DuPont. I was contracted through a company called KBR. And, we had to work in groups all the time. A lot of our projects were group projects. We worked with various crafts. We worked with engineers. We worked with area personnel. So we were constantly interacting with all the people that were involved in getting that project done. So you have to play well. If you want to get something done, you can't be the sole person doing it. You've got to depend on other people too to help you to accomplish a task. Yeah, so definitely play ball with others, yes.
So Parkersburg operates with a strong mayor form of government. For anyone who's not familiar, that means that the mayor is the head of the executive branch. He or she has the power to both appoint and remove department heads, other executive branch employees, as well as preparing and administering the multi-million-dollar city budget. Do you know approximately how much the last year's budget was? And what executive and financial experience do you have that you'll bring with you to help manage all the people and the money?
Sure. So last year's budget, according to the paperwork that I have, was about 29 million. And I think there was a variance of about 8 million. So like I had said before, between 29 and 37 million. My experience with budgets, like I said before, I worked at DuPont. We had projects, some of them were 50,000, some of them were 100,000, some of them were $200,000 jobs. To me, it doesn't really matter so much about the dollar figure in terms of management style. Sure, it matters how much it costs because there's more at stake. But when it comes to management style, we're dealing with a budget. You tackle it the same way. You've got to, account for those dollars and make sure they're not wasted. You've got to make sure that your labor and your material and anything else that's involved is accounted for and not wasted. I would use that experience. Those are transferable skills, I think, that I could bring to the office of mayor.
How do you see the job of mayor changing in this post-COVID-19 environment?
Well, it would definitely going to present some challenges, I'm sure, because, there are going to be changes. Just trying to bring business in or bring people in, maybe a little bit harder because a lot of people have been hit financially. Businesses have been, struggling. People are out of work. So I imagine most people are probably sitting tight right where they're at. Maybe they don't have any real plans to move a business, start a business, move from one city to the other. That's definitely a challenge. And I think once the economy improves and some of these restrictions get lifted as far as social distancing, I think we'll see a quick turnaround. They're talking that as far as graphing it, would it be just like a V? It's going to come down really fast, but then it'll go up really fast. So hopefully, that's what will happen. But if not, we'll just have to find alternative ways to deal with the problems as they come up.
What do you think your worst enemy would say is your worst quality?
Well, I've been told that I am too, I delve into stuff a little more than I probably should, detail-oriented. I've been called too detail-oriented. I was actually told to slow down one time because I was making the group I was working with look bad. My thoughts were, maybe they should speed up, but that aside, I've been accused of being too detail-oriented. And what was the last part of the question?
The next part of the question is, what do you think is your best quality?
Well, I would say that's one of my best qualities also. I mean, trying to get into the weeds and dive into the problem and see, what's exactly there. Just kind of taking a glance at something and trying to form a solution, maybe it's not always the best answer. I think you really need to have all the information in front of you to get the best possible solution so you can make your decision based on facts and information rather than just, a quick glance at it.
Political office holders are leaders. How would you describe your leadership style?
I would say fair. I'm willing to listen to somebody. If there's a problem that arises, I would be willing to listen to both sides before I made a decision instead of just flying off the handle and getting mad about it. I believe in an open door policy. I want to hear from people. I think it's best to be able to hear from the people that work with you, but also the people outside of the office. So the public, if there's something that's going on that maybe we don't know about, we can't solve the problem. So an open door policy is important. But just being able to work with everybody and try to get to know the people you work with, they're doing a job just like you are. They're trying to do the best for the city, just like everybody else. So I think getting to know those people and those personalities, the different ways that those people respond to problems and handle different issues, I think is important. And that takes a little bit of time. There'll be a learning curve there, obviously. But as far as a management style, I would say I'm a friendly, outgoing person and just try to get to know the people I work with.
What would you say are your own personal core values?
Well, I've thought about this some. A lot of people have talked about, again, the drug addiction and the homeless problem in Parkersburg, and they're really fed up with it. But I look at it as, sure, it's a problem for the city. I understand that people don't like petty theft, because maybe someone's breaking into a car to try to get a little bit of money for a drug problem. And I understand that maybe people don't like seeing people riding around on bicycles with backpacks and kind of wondering, well, are they just homeless or are they going to steal from me? But I also look at those people as human beings. That's someone's son, daughter, brother, sister, maybe mother or father, and I think the best way to handle that problem is to do the best thing for not only the person that's affected, but for the city too. And the best way to achieve that is to get those people the help they need. So my core value with that is just to treat everybody else like you would want to be treated yourself. Just to look at them and kind of write them off as a homeless or an addict, that doesn't solve the problem. Those people need help, and to do the best for the city, you need to give them the help that they need, and that helps the city as well.
Do you know your win number?
Yeah, so if the numbers that I looked at are correct, and the number of registered voters that I looked at are correct in the last 3 out of 5 elections, I would say between 3,600 and 3,700.
Okay.
What do you think you will enjoy the least about serving as mayor?
Well, I'm sure that there will be detractors out there. There's always going to be someone that doesn't like a decision you made, or that doesn't like a plan that you had. There's always going to be someone out there that says, I don't like that idea. Why is he doing that? But I feel like, sometimes you have to make the tough decisions. Sometimes the right decision is not the most popular thing. So kind of dealing with that would be one of the things I probably won't enjoy, but at the same time, you've got to do what's right for the city. So
what excites you most about serving as mayor of Parkersburg?
Just being able to try to rebrand the city, try to revitalize the city, try to go in a different direction. I ask myself all the time, what does Parkersburg want to be known for? Do we want to be known for a place that just has a homelessness issue or a drug addiction problem? Or do we want to be known as a city that has, tourism options? We've got Blennerhassett Island. We've got a lot of Civil War history that most people are interested in. There's a lot of different things that we could really highlight that are positives for the city. And I think doing that, highlighting those things and kind of rebranding the city would be one of the things I'm excited about. I would like to see all of the neighborhoods in Parkersburg, north and south, kind of operate much like, let's say, a New York City. Now, I know we're not a New York City. We don't have 7 million plus people. We're a city of 30,000. But in New York City, there's little neighborhoods where there's a deli, there's a barber shop, there's a supermarket that everybody goes to, and they all work within their own neighborhood, and those neighborhoods are representative of the whole city. And I would like to see something like that happen in Parkersburg, where everybody has a voice and all of those neighborhoods are kind of built up again, so that maybe there's a representative in that city that can go to the council person and say, hey, this is what we're seeing in our neighborhood. And it'd be kind of hard then to look at those people and vote against something that maybe they wanted.
As mayor of Parkersburg, you would be the city's ambassador. Tell us what you would say to other people about what you're proud of about Parkersburg.
Well, I would say I'm most proud of just the history. There's a lot of history here. I know we've lost a lot of businesses, but we're still here. We've lost several big industry, and it's a problem that's not unique to just Parkersburg. It's nationwide, but we're still here, and there's people that are still here that are very proud of their city. It's home to them. They haven't left. They could go someplace else and make more money. They could go someplace else and have more amenities, but they stay here. And so I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of, is that the people here care about the city and the surrounding area.
With that, we'll move into our easy portion, so you can take a breather. You passed the gauntlet. These next few questions are kind of softball questions.
Okay.
What's your favorite place or thing in our city?
I would have to say I like the view from Quincy Hill. I know that park needs a little bit of work, but just the view from up there looking out over the city is nice. I would say Fort Borman, but that's not necessarily in the city limits. I like the Blennerhassett Hotel. Our family has went down there on occasion when they've had live music, and got a hamburger and sat there and listened to some live music, and it's a nice evening out. It's relatively inexpensive. Those are a couple of things I like about Parker, or a couple of spots I like in Parkersburg.
What are you passionate about?
Passionate about in terms of?
Up to you.
Okay. Well, in terms of the city, I would say, like I said before, I live here too. I want to be able to make a change. I don't want someone to have to live here their whole life and say, gosh, if I'd only known, shoulda, coulda, woulda, and 10, 20 years has went by and they're wondering why they stayed here. I want to be able, I know what that feels like, because I've seen the city kind of decline in a way, and I've kind of questioned myself on, maybe I should have moved, but I feel like I'm really passionate about, for whatever reason, trying to make the city better, because I live here too, and I want to see some kind of change.
What do you like to do in your off time?
I like woodworking, building furniture. I like landscaping, yard work, as odd as that sounds. Most people consider those chores, but, I enjoy that. So landscaping, yard work, working on cars.
What is most unique about you?
What is most unique about me? Well, that's a good question. I would say my creativity. I think I have a creative streak. I like art. I'm not an artist, but I like art, and just to be creative, I think, is something that's unique.
And with that, we've come to our ending. We'd like to give you a few minutes to address anything you feel like we missed that we should know, to tell us and the voters how to get more information on your campaign, how to get in touch with you, donate, get involved, etc.
Okay, sure. So my Facebook page is Meredith for Mayor 2020, and I also have an email account, meredithformayor2020@gmail.com. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, you can send them there. You can also message me through Facebook. I'm also on the neighborhood app. You can message me through there. I'd just like to reiterate, the things that I talked about here earlier, that I really want to increase tourism, bring tourism dollars here to create jobs. There's several things that I've already talked to people about and trying to lay the groundwork. So when I am in office, I can hit the ground running. I've talked to federal agencies, state agencies. I've talked to various groups, a bicycling group. They want to complete the Ohio River Rail Trail. That's something that could bring people to Parkersburg. Tourism, again, like I said, a community investment trust we could use to revitalize Parkersburg, and just some simple tweaks and changes to the existing system to make Parkersburg a cleaner town, a nicer looking town, a town that's maybe all one theme. Everybody has a stake in what goes on here through that trust. Just to try to represent everybody in the whole city, north and south. I know, and I'm actually kind of looking into the fact that, maybe South Parkersburg maybe doesn't have the representation that it should. I didn't see anywhere in the city's paperwork where they had mentioned, the number of council people that are assigned. There wasn't a population number, but, maybe that's something that could change. Maybe have a person at large, or see about increasing council members to give them a little better representation. Just all of those things I hope to bring to the office if I'm elected. So again, if you want to look at my Facebook page, it's Meredith for Mayor 2020, and the email is meredithformayor@gmail.com.
Well, thank you, Mark. We appreciate you taking the time to do this interview and your interest in serving the city of Parkersburg. Stay healthy. Wash those hands, everyone.
Right. Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this. It's been nice to be able to get my message out there, especially with this pandemic going on. So I think this is a great way to do that, and I hope people will take a look at it and give me their vote.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.